Welcome to the Sports Sesh podcast. I'm your host, Mason Shatwell, and joining me today is my co-host, James Evans, but we've also got a guest on. We've got Matt Thorpe. How are you doing today?
I'm good, mate. Thank you.
Great stuff. Obviously, we'll go into your career first. Obviously, you fought under the Cage Warriors banner back in the day, but my question first is, how different is the early days of MMA from when you was a fighter to what it is now?
The sport itself's not too different in the sense of a rule. I suppose in the rule set, it's very different. Back in my day, it was back in my day. God, I sound old. But when I first started, that sounds bad. It was very much very small sport. There was a handful of people doing it. It was driven by a love of the sport and passion for it, rather than necessarily any end game where there was money involved or anything like that. There was no career path in it as such. So it's very different in that sense. I mean, to a degree, we're still punching and kicking each other, so it's still the same in that sense. But it's grown massively. It's ridiculous how big it is compared to what it was when I first started out. The first fight shows I was on didn't even have cages. It was all boxing rings. I remember the first cage coming over to the UK, the first show that had a cage. But nowadays it's just a given. So it's a very, very, very different landscape to what it was probably when I first started out. I'd say the sport to a degree is the same in the sense that we're doing MMA, yeah. But gloves, there's rules. The rules are a lot more streamlined, a lot user friendly, a lot more user friendly, yeah. And the whole thing's a more streamlined package nowadays to what it was when I started.
How did you originally get in the sport?
I met my ex-wife when I was 17, I want to say 16, 17, and she was training at a club, a karate club that she was at sort of twice a week, and she sort of was nagging me to go along with her. I'd trained in kickboxing in the past, done a bit of taekwondo when I was younger. I was like, nah, I don't really want to give karate a go. It's not really my thing. And she nagged and then she started talking about it, and they were talking about arm bars and some UFC. I was like, I've never heard of any. What the hell's all this? It sort of piqued my interest. So I went down, had a look at what they were doing, and they were sort of playing around with they had the first sort of 3 UFCs on VHS. And they've been watching them and host racy stuff. And that sort of dragged me in because I was like, oh, this is interesting. This stuff looks like it'll work. And that sort of dragged me in, and then I became fully addicted, and I didn't stop from that point on. I think I was about 16, 17 at the time.
Before we dwell into the coaching aspect, which obviously is what you do now, who was the toughest opponent that you faced within your career?
Toughest opponent? The problem is I can't. 10, 12 years since I last fought. It's a rather long time ago. Don't know, if I'm honest. Difficult one to answer. I had some, I'm known for fighting the Dan Hardy fight. That was a tough little scrap. It was tough in the sense that, it was the first fight I'd ever gone 5 rounds. I don't think I'd ever seen outside the first round until that fight, and it went the full 5-5. So that was an interesting experience, learning what it was like to do that sort of distance and that time in a cage. So it's up there with a tough little scrap. Strong. I thought Shea Mills, he was a strong guy. There's a couple of guys, that were tough scraps, but I couldn't pinpoint exactly who was the hardest opponent, if I'm honest.
And as Mason just said there, obviously now you're a coach. Since you hung up the gloves and decided to sort of apply your trade in the gym by coaching your students, what's it like training these young, hungry athletes wanting to sort of burst onto the scene?
I love coaching. It's a very rewarding career. So, like helping someone achieve achieve their goals and what they're striving for. So, for me, it's an amazing experience. It's something that I love doing, probably more so than ever did competing. To be honest with you, it's a lot more rewarding than I find it a lot more rewarding than I did my own career. My own career was just a test of myself, and this is a much more rewarding path to be taking. And coaching young athletes coming through, seeing them progress. I mean, like I've got some now that are sort of hitting to 17, 18 that have been with me since they were sort of 10. And, the abilities and the skill level is amazing to see. And it's such a pleasure to help them strive and be the best version of themselves. So, yeah, it's something that is definitely a rewarding career that I wouldn't change.
For the people that don't know, whereabouts is your gym and where can they find it?
We're based in Stockport. It's based in a mill called Welkin Mill in Stockport, just on the outskirts of Stockport Centre. It's just Lower Bredbury. I've got a website, 12GaugeMMA.com. If you head over there, it's got a lot of info and stuff like that on it.
How did you come about owning your own gym?
So what was it? I think we've been going about 11 years now. So I was just about to. I did my last fight against. I started teaching at a club called Factory BJJ, which is located in Reddish. I sort of rented a room off them twice a week, just before my last fight against John. Got my surname. That's terrible, isn't it? John from Wales, I remember.
John Phillips.
Good enough.
John Phillips. That's it, John Phillips. Yeah, my last fight against John Phillips. My last fight against John, I thought, you know what, I was sort of winding down, thinking, probably time to retire now anyway. My fire to compete was starting to wane a little bit. So I decided that, the next logical step to me was do some coaching. So I hired a room twice a week, and started coaching from there. Then it grew and it grew and it grew. I then decided, I'm going to get my own little unit. And then it took off. So I thought, I'm just going to do this full time. And then I just pushed and pushed. And now obviously we've got a big 8,000 square foot facility, all kitted out with everything that we need. So yeah, it just sort of, I just took my mistake, took it steady with it, and it grew to something quite big in the end, which is nice to see.
As we spoke about the coaching part a moment ago, obviously, when you're there coaching a guy, say in the fight they do well, not just their success, do you also see it as your own as well because you've passed on your knowledge to them?
No. I'm a guy. What I say to my students is I say to my guys, look, I remove my ego out of this. Yeah, it's not an ego thing for me at all. I'm a guide to you to help you be the best version of you. Your success isn't because of me. It's because of the hard work you've done. Yeah, you've just listened to my advice. I've given some advice, and it's their choice to take that advice or not. Yeah, I've got some experience, so that's on my side. And I can give you some good advice, and if you follow that advice, I believe you'll be successful. And we're seeing that, but that's their success. That isn't my success. They've done the work. They've done the hard work. They've been determined. They've been dedicated. Yeah, I'm just there to guide them and help them. As a coach, yeah, I'm not. I'm not big into this. I'm not a big ego trip on. That they're my student and they are. You must bow to this and say no. Yeah. I'm there to help you. Yeah, and that's the way that I feel about that sort of stuff.
Obviously, within the UK at the moment, we've got a hell of a lot of great, talented fighters, and from Manchester especially, we've got Brendan Lotnay fighting this weekend. We've got also Lerone Murphy, but all across the country. Not just these guys that are at the top level already, but how strong is the lower level of British MMA at the moment, like the new guys going into professional or even the amateur ranks?
The standards, I mean, at the minute, we don't have many fights, have we, for a year? But,
Yeah.
In general, before we had the lockdowns and stuff like that, the standard is very, very, very high. Yeah. And it's getting ever higher. You've got these amateur kids coming through now, and when you're starting to get the generation, like I say, you're getting the generation that I've got. They've been with me 7-8 years from the age of 10. They're getting to 18, 19. We've trained a long, long time. We've got lots of experience, and they're hitting the amateur game. Having the first amateur adult fight at 18, but they've got 8-9 years experience already. Doing other aspects of it already. So the standard is ever creeping, and it's getting ridiculously high now. You see it when you go to these IMAF tournaments. I've been over to quite a lot of the IMAF tournaments coaching with the England team and squad and stuff, and we went to the Youth Worlds a couple of years ago, and the standard is ridiculous. Yeah, for these young kids, you've got 13, 14-year-olds that are so head and heels above the standard that was set when I first had my first fight. It absolutely murdered me. Yeah, compared to what the standard was back then to what it is now. It's ever growing. It's only going to go up, really.
How challenging has the pandemic been to yourself and the gym and the coaching aspect?
It's been interesting. I'll say that much. It was. It was a challenge. It was. It wasn't much fun to go through. I don't fancy going through it again. Hopefully, that's we're on the other end of it now. It made things difficult. It's essentially put. The difficulty I've got is I mainly deal with sort of grassroots, amateur level guys. I haven't got many pros. So, I'm lucky in a sense that some of them are doing some coaching, education stuff. So because they're in education, it's meant they've been able to do something and keep themselves ticking over. But then, a lot of the other amateur guys have it's been a struggle to be able to get them in the gym and do the training that they need. So it's been a bit of a pain in the butt, but I think hopefully we'll see the other end of that now, and we can concentrate on some positive outcomes and pushing forward with getting these guys back out there and competing again.
Obviously, MMA can take people all over the world. What's your favourite place that the sport has taken you, whether that's been while fighting or just coaching?
Yes, we've been all over. It's been nice. My favourite place, I've been to Japan a couple of times, fought over there. I always liked the idea of going to Japan when I was younger. So it was cool to be able to go over there and compete and do the sport that I love, and compete in front of the Japanese fans. They're very respectful and they understand the sport really well. So it was, it's probably one of my highlights and my favourite places that have been.
Essentially, not only are you a coach in a way, but you're also at heart, in some sort of sense, you're also a scout. So from when a new fighter comes into the gym, what are you looking for right from the get-go and right from day one from these particular individuals?
Probably all coaches say the same. Well, they might not, but I'd have thought a lot are going to say the same thing. Commitment. Yeah, it's as simple as that. It's like, you can come in and you can talk the talk. Even a skill sense, I might look and think you're great, but if you turn up once a month, it's like you're not going to make it, mate. Yeah, it's not going to be the way it works. So you're looking for commitment. Someone that's dedicated and committed to achieving their goals. It's like we said before. I'm not. It's not my success. It's not me doing the training. Yeah, you're doing the training, so you've got to be committed and dedicated to turn up day in, day out and do that training. Yeah. So that's the main thing you're looking for, that commitment from the person that they're gonna put the work in. Yeah. If they put the work in, then the sky's the limit. Yeah. So without a doubt, it's that commitment level we're looking for to start with.
Within MMA, there's lots of different factors that play into it. Obviously, within the physical aspect, you've got your jiu-jitsu, the wrestling, boxing, but you've all on the other side, on the mental aspect, that's a big part. What do you think is more important, having a strong mentality or having all the physical aspects?
It's a blend, isn't it? Yeah, it's it's there is no best part on that. It's you've got to have a bit of both if you're gonna. It depends what level we're talking to. But if you want to get to the highest level, you've got to have a strong mentality. You've got to have a strong mentality, and you've got to have some physical attributes as well. Yeah, you've got to be able to pick up the skills that we're showing. So it's going to be a blend. Yeah. Having said that, a strong, determined mind is very, very, very important. Yeah. It does get overlooked a little bit sometimes, and it's a hugely important aspect of sport. That's kind of what probably separates the elite from the good. Yeah. From a technical ability in the gym, they're probably the same. They probably look the same. You'd be like, oh, they look really good. Yeah. But the elite has that mental fire, that ability to dig through hell and come back out the other side, winning. So, the mental aspect is a big, huge part of it.
Who are some of the top prospects you've got in your own gym?
We've got a couple of young kids coming through. We've got a kid called Brooklyn, who's coming through. He's really, really good. He went to the IMAF Worlds, got third out there. He's up. Brooklyn Thomas he's up and coming. Really, really good kid. I've got Declan Dean. Came off Cage Warriors amateur fight, I think it was, just before the pandemic hit. He's doing really well, coming on really nicely. Picked up a lot of skills. Really put a great little MMA game together now. So he's one to watch out for at the minute as well. Ex-Thai boxer. I've got another younger lad called Daniel. He's still a little younger yet, but in the next couple of years, I expect you'll start to see him on the scene as well. Because he's doing he went to the Worlds as well, but he's doing really well. He's just turned 16, so we've got a couple of prospects coming through who are doing really well.
What are the most challenging parts of the coaching game?
Challenging? Challenging in what sense?
Is there anything that makes coaching difficult in a way?
Fighters that aren't committed are a pain in the ass. Coaching's quite straightforward if people are there, but there's a difference between saying you want it and then actually wanting it. I won't lie. If you're going to go to a high level in sport, and this will be any sport, it is hard work. Yeah, and especially in a sport that's a combat sport, because you're getting beaten up. Yeah, not necessarily it's going to be hard. You're not having hard spars every day, but it's a combat sport. You're taking impact. You're giving impact day in, day out. Yeah, you're pushing your body to its limits day in, day out. So, that commitment, seeing that commitment from the fighters, and if they can, and they can be lazy buggers sometimes. You've got to be on them. Yeah, because I know it's hard work, but if you want it, you've got to put the work in. Yeah. So keeping them committed is probably the hardest task of a coach.
How would you describe your coaching style and ethos in the gym?
I'm very, very, very laid back. I'm not a taskmaster. Like I say, I believe I am a guide to you to help you in any way possible. So what I'll say to my guy, just ask me, I'll help you in any way possible. I'm not, you don't have to bow to me. I'm not your sensei. I'm gonna help you, guide you, create whatever you need me to create. I'm there to help you. Yeah, I'm an assistant to you. You're the athlete. I'm gonna assist you in whatever way I possibly can. Yeah, so that's kind of the ethos that I take on the coaching side of things. I'm not, like I say, I'm not a taskmaster in the slightest. We won't be beating 7 shades of hell out of each other every day. It's, I'm very, very technically minded in what I teach my guys, and lots of drill work and stuff like that. You save you've only got so many brain cells. You don't want to lose them in the gym. Yeah, if you're going to go and have a fight, that's what you get paid to take that risk in the fight. You don't get paid in the gym to do them sort of things. Like I say, we won't be beating the hell out of each other in our gym, and like I say, I'm there as a guide to help you as best as I possibly can. But kind of ethos that I take, that sort of stuff.
We mentioned the pandemic earlier. Obviously, the gyms have had to shut 3 times now during the whole COVID situation. How does it feel to be back again after now? It seems a 3-month layoff from the gym.
Yeah, it's awesome. You know what I mean? It sucked being out the gym. Like I say, it's kind of my lifestyle now. I do it full time. I coach full time. I've got a full time facility. I spend a large portion of my life coaching and training. So it's fantastic to finally be back in there doing that. I mean, we've obviously kept going over time with we've done online classes and stuff like that, and online drilling sessions and stuff. But it's just
it's not the same.
It's not the same. Talking to a TV screen is not the same as being in an environment where people are training and there's a buzz in the room, and it's just not the same at all. So it's the last couple of weeks I've loved being back, and long may it continue.
Do you have any advice for young fighters that are looking to make it in the MMA game?
In what sense? What?
If you could give them a good piece of advice to kickstart the career, the best things to do.
Listen to your coach. Take their advice. They're usually the ones that have put a lot of time and effort into this sport already. So they've probably got some good advice to pass on to you. Yeah. So take it on board. Yeah. Be open-minded. Learn. Yeah. Be there. Leave your ego at the door. Yeah. Open-minded, willing to learn, and dedicated, and commit your time to it. Yeah. Put them three things into it, and you're gonna have some success. That's where it starts. The grassroots, get them things nailed, and then the rest will start to build from there.
That was the last thing from myself. I don't know if James has any more questions.
I've got a few more, if that's all right, Matt. I appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Is the onus on you to sort of help guide these talented prospects on the right path?
Is the what, sorry, mate? The onus on me?
Yeah.
You mean what, within the gym or in general, or?
Within the gym, to sort of guide these sort of amateur ranked fighters into sort of the bigger MMA promotions.
Oh, you mean am I going to take them to the UFC level and stuff like that?
Yeah, the sort of big scale, yeah.
To a degree, it's gonna be. The thing is, with any sport, when you start getting to the higher levels of of the sport itself and the promotions that you're dealing with, you get some of it's what you know more than also it's who you know more than what you know, should I say? Yeah, so that them sort of things help. Having the correct contacts and stuff like that to get you into the sort of larger promotions once you start getting to that level. Yeah, obviously it's my job as a coach to make sure you're ready for that level. Yeah, with the correct career progression before that. Yeah, and then once you get to that higher level, you're getting into management territory where you've got a manager and stuff who's going to sort of push you into the really big promotions as such. But my job as a coach is to make sure you've got that correct progression and you're taking the correct paths, and you've got the correct experience ready for the tougher fights that you're going to get once you get to. I mean, it's a bit easier now. You can get the correct progression. You can get the correct building blocks at amateur level now. The level's that good. that when you turn to pro, you know, you can then set yourself. You can get, you can probably get to the bigger promotions quite quickly. You know, if you've done the correct building blocks at amateur.
And one final thing for me, would you say that your gym is a closely knit group? And if so, how important is that for the morale going forward?
Yeah, we've got, I mean, it's quite a big old facility, and we've got a nice team atmosphere in there. I mean, we've got, the thing that I quite like, I'm quite proud of in our place is, we've got a very diverse group of people. We're not just a fighters gym. We've got our athletes, we've got our people that come in for recreation side of things, and they all mix and they're all friendly with each other. There's no egos in there. It's something that that I feel strongly about. There's no idiots, and it's a great team atmosphere, and and I think that's something that comes across well when you come into the gym. And I'm quite proud of that side of things.
No, perfect. That's literally all from me. But I just want to say thank you for coming on. I appreciate your time, Matt. Thank you.
It's no problem at all, guys. It's been my pleasure.
Nice one, Matt. It's always a pleasure speaking to you, mate.
No problem, guys. No problem at all.
Take care.
Take care, mate.